hello everybody, and welcome to the Women Talking Money podcast. I'm Gretchen from Magenta Financial Planning and She Finance, and today I'm delighted to welcome Crystal Jukes to the show. Crystal is an empowerment coach, mentor and trainer specializing in subconscious reprogramming and confidence. She works with women to uncover the shift that beliefs running beneath the surface, helping them unlock greater clarity, courage, and lasting change in both their lives and their work. She's also co-founder of the She Thrives Collective, a supportive community created to empower female founders as they grow with confidence and purpose. So welcome, Crystal, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, Gretchen. Thank you for having me.
So do you want to just elaborate on some of that? Maybe tell us what you're excited about and things about yourself and your career journey to get to being in this position now?
Yeah. So I've been working as a mindset NLP coach and with a particular focus on hypnotherapy for around 6 years. And I've been doing it part-time whilst having a 20-year career in marketing. And when I was pregnant with my second daughter, about 2 years ago, I was made redundant on maternity leave. So I decided it was now or never, and to take my business full time. And that's what I do now is I'm so passionate about helping women through unblocking all the things that keep them from charging the prices that they want to charge as female founders, going for jobs with a higher salary. A lot of my work, I work with female founders and I work with women in professional capacity as well in the workplace, and really focusing on all those horrible imposter syndrome feelings that stop us from moving forward in our careers and our businesses. And I think money is one of the most emotional parts of that. And that's what I'm really passionate about in helping women with.
And do you want to just mention She Thrives as well?
Yeah, so I, about a year and a half, set up a female founder community called She Thrives, with my co-founder Helen. And we run monthly events for women who are either growing their businesses or have got a spark of an idea or are running businesses on the side of having their full-time positions as well. And it's grown into an amazing community of women who support each other. And these things come up as well. Every month we run Cardiff and Swansea events, and we do have vulnerable conversations, and that is around being juggling so much as a woman with a business, the vulnerability and the emotion that comes up with money and being able to charge what you feel you want, what feels good to you, being seen and visibility. So having this female founder community, it's brilliant, as well as running a coaching practice, because everything that we do, me and Hells, as well as running these inspirational events, it starts with the mindset and the subconscious mind. That's like a key component of everything that we do.
Excellent. Well, having had experience of events, they're always really good. So and actually this is quite a nice one because we've spoken about money already, and today we're here to talk more about money. I want to ask you a couple of questions about your personal kind of journey with money. So what's your earliest memory of money, and do you think that it shaped your, they say that our money mindset is kind of set out by the time we're 7 by what we hear. Do you think that you've got memories that have shaped you, or things that maybe you've had to overcome because of the things that you learned about money when you were younger?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the last year of running my business full time, I've never had to do so much work. Although I help other women with their subconscious, me in my own journey has been huge for me to overcome so many things. And when I was young, my parents worked so hard. My mum was a retail shop worker. My dad always looked after disabled people through social services, working with children. Worked so many hours, but for minimum wage. And I remember them working really, really hard. And I remember us having nothing really. We never struggled in terms of food. And I'm so grateful for that, and going places. And, that part of our childhood was lovely. But there were so many things that were difficult for us. I grew up when I was born, we had a house with, it didn't have heating. I remember seeing the photos of me, you know, when I was little in my cot, just like so many layers on because we didn't have any heating in the house. And I just found growing up, there were so many arguments in the household around money because my dad was super careful with money and my mum, she liked nice things. She was really, really generous. And we would regularly have letters, you know, come to the house about owing money. We were blacklisted from lots of things, which led to the conflict with my dad and my mum because he was so careful and she wasn't. So growing up, I do remember a lot of arguments centered around money. And also, you know, when you're a kid, you want to fit in, don't you? And being outside of a tribe of children who've all got the same things is quite difficult. And I remember, you know, we didn't have money for the brands, and a lot of children in my school had sports brands. And if you had that, you fitted in, you know, you seemed to be cool. And I do remember this one occasion where we only had, I think my mum only had a few pounds to buy trainers, and I'd gone to comp by that stage. And she bought me these trainers in the market. And I said, Mum, please, I don't want them. This is going to be the end of it for me. And she said, no, that's all I've got. You've got to have it, Crystal. And yeah, it led to bullying, just the comments I used to get from school and me writing notes to get out of PE because I didn't have the things that the other children had. So that was hard, you know, not fitting in and feeling like an outsider because of that. So there are certain things, and you carry that with you, don't you? Which I know now to adulthood, because that little person, you know, she's you. She was another version of you, and that's what she saw, and that's what she felt in that moment.
And what do you think you've carried through into your adult kind of life that has, you know, you've had to work on then from those kind of difficult moments to, and also you're bringing up children. So, you know, your messaging, you know, you must be also very aware of like what they're experiencing.
Yeah, yeah. I've had to really let go of control because I always saw myself as the provider in my family, you know, the one who needs to earn and save to protect everybody, to make sure that nobody goes without. And it's been really interesting, that transition between working for a corporate organization for 20 years and having that career and having that salary to actually the uncomfortable feeling that I'm actually a creative person. What I'm doing in this role is kind of clipping my wings in who I want to be and the impact that I want to bring to the world. But knowing that that transition from your corporate and very comfortable salary, pension and everything to then going, you know, and making your own way in the world through self-employment, wow, like that has been a massive shift for me. But it's being able to be comfortable with letting go of control in that transition time whilst you're growing something and building it. So almost having to adopt a different identity, really, of no, it is okay. And if you're really leading with your passion and impact, as I have been trying to do with She Thrives and the women that I'm supporting, then that is going to come. So I think that that has been one of the main things for me in that identity shift, you know, staying somewhere. And yeah, by all means, that is so important to most of us, isn't it? Having that certainty and that money every month to know where you are. But also, there's a bigger pull sometimes. There's a bigger pull to be somebody that you're called to be. And that's the biggest driver for me right now. And I do believe with that, then the financial reward will come. But it's not instantaneous, is it? And I think that's what I
And a
help
bit and
women
you're
with.
sat in that
Yeah.
uncomfortable space, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You've had to, when you're inclined to go for security and comfort and guarantee and planned action, to then go and sit in
Towards
that uncomfortable space is a big challenge.
Yeah, and it feels uncomfortable because it's different and it's new, it's something you've never experienced before. And the brain is saying, I want to keep you safe, and this doesn't feel safe. So I don't want you to do this. So your whole nervous system and your brain and all of your body will fight against you to keep you in what you know, in what feels good, in that regular money coming in every month. But actually, it's priming your mind and your body and your nervous system to say, this is safe, one step at a time. This is where I want to be, and just visualizing that and feeling all the good feelings that come with the vision that you've got for yourself and where you're going.
And before this, would you, on reflecting on before making that decision, as you say, to make the change, have you ever faced a sort of financial challenge in life? Like, I mean, it could be redundancy or bereavement or, divorce that's taught you resilience and how you can, that you can pull on now in these decisions that you're making to change, the way that you work.
Yeah, so many experiences. 10 years before, I'd been working for the Welsh Government in different roles for about 10 years. Our funding had come to an end when my daughter was 2 months old. So I was on maternity the first time with her, and I'd lost my job, and I was only 2 months into the maternity, and I just thought, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. But what I did do is I retrained in digital marketing. I became a freelancer. I took clients on. I worked through the maternity leave. I got new skills. It was fine. And it actually worked out to be a really good thing that happened, because I got a better job out of it and better skills and everything else. And it's happened again, the second time now on maternity leave. And I think, right, okay, it will all work out. And I think, had I not done the mindset training 6 years ago, yeah, things might have been very different to where I am now in self-employment, and especially with two children to support,
Mm, mm.
in how am I going to make this work? But what I do with my clients, always the women that I work with, is you have to look for evidence. So, when things do feel really difficult, whether that's, whether you're making a decision to invest in something, even, to invest in yourself, for example, that you want to grow your business, you want to learn new skills, and that can come at a cost because you're putting your money, your savings into something, and you're betting on yourself. That can feel really scary to a lot of people. But actually, thinking about, right, what am I going to get out of this? And knowing that you looking for evidence of where you've done something like that before, and it's really helped you to get to where you are now. So I think always, always look for evidence of resilience, or when things were hard and you've moved forward and you've moved through them, and there will always be evidence.
And I think it's quite interesting that quite often we don't always associate those times that have happened in our lives as relevant to maybe something that we're going through, but that it is. And it's only when you actually sit back and go, hang on, how have I climbed over these challenges before? How have I faced, and it might be that it was something completely in your personal life, but it's totally relevant to the way that you should handle it moving forward. So I think that's quite interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think growing up with not having much, you kind of have to ask yourself, but what I love to ask this question is, what's your money story? Like, what story are you telling yourself about money? Is it that I have to retain everything? Because if I don't, and something happens, I'm going to lose my house. Like, people, you go to the worst possible scenario in your head normally around money because it's so emotional. And it feels like it's a safety thing, isn't it, to have it there? But I do like to work with women to say, what is your money story? And how is that blocking you now from what you want, from your vision for yourself? Because we don't have these conversations, do we, in day to day? Nobody asks you this kind of stuff.
No, and I mean that's what we've talked about before. I think that there's just and when we did the event together and we did that money session in the last the Elevate event that you did, I do think that there's definitely, we're used to talking about money when we're entrepreneurs or self-employed when it comes to how much is in the bank. am I going to be able to pay for XYZ? I know exactly, I speak to many women who go, I know my business inside out. I know exactly what I've got. But understanding money isn't actually about that bit. That's money management. That's kind of good financial management of your business and being able to pay the bills and pay yourself. But actually the mindset thing and talking about money is more like, well, why, as you say, why am I making the decisions I'm making? Are there any of those decisions that are like holding me back? Are the
Yeah.
things that I could be doing in a different way? And I think scarcity mindset, when you've come from nothing, from not having much, or even if you have, actually, you might have been brought up in a position where you did have a pretty, not necessarily affluent, but comfortable environment, but actually you were taught that the reason why we have this is because we are like, we don't really do anything more than and I think that quite often with my clients, it's about that scarcity mindset and how we can turn that to, it could hold us back from making really great opportunities in business. And I think risk management comes into that as well. Our risk radar goes, I'm not comfortable with that.
No, not comfortable. And I think, like, when you say about, yeah, I've got the strategy, I've got the spreadsheets, I know where my money's coming in and out. I've got my finger on the pulse of my business. And that accounts for 5% because that's your willpower and your logical thinking. But the 95% that we are not aware of is the subconscious mind. So if you think of it like, I think I've frozen here now. Great.
That's all
If you
right.
think of it
Hopefully
like,
I can still hear you.
okay, so if you think of it like an iceberg, where you've got the 5% of it is at the top, and then you've got your 95% at the bottom. So that is your habits, your behaviors, your emotions. And I'd like to think of it as this like store, this cupboard where all of these memories from naught to now, whether you're aware of it or not, they're all stored in there. So when you think about a decision to do with money, which might be charging a particular price for your services, it could be, I'm going to invest in myself. And that feeling that comes up in your body, which, is a feeling which is kind of like fight or flight. It can be quite sickening, but to know where is that coming from, and it's your 95% that is bringing up a memory in the body because it's stored in the body. All of these experiences that we have, the body keeps the score. So when something comes up like that, it might be, I argue with my husband because this is the trigger point. It doesn't feel comfortable, and therefore I shall argue. I've got friends who we also didn't grow up with much, and their spending habits are now out of control around buying clothes, because when you grow up as a child and maybe you don't have the nice clothes that you want, the trainers and everything, the emotional satisfaction that comes from making those purchases as an
Mm.
adult, you're going to keep doing it because it's dopamine and it makes you feel good and it makes you feel safe. So it's this it's a loop of, it's like a habit, like a drug, it feels good. I feel safe. I feel wanted. I feel um, approved now. I'm worthy of having things. So I'm going to keep treating myself to that. So it's really understanding, where does that root cause come from, and how can we rewire our minds to think better thoughts, to have new behaviors and habits that support the person that we want to become. Whether that's better financial habits, spending, whether we want to save more, how can we make our relationship with money more joyful so it feels, well, yeah, money's my friend, instead of, no, no, can't look in the account, can't charge what I want. Yeah, not worthy of that.
I think when you bring two people together in a relationship as well, that makes it, we've got to remember what you just said was that 95% of everything is kind of all about beneath the surface. So bringing two people together with both with different 95% to try and, run a household, have children, have a successful relationship, and everyone's got their own things. Quite I've heard it so many times about, that one of the examples might be, I don't want any debt,
Yeah.
That my key driver is not to have any debt, when we know that actually debt in relative terms, I'm not promoting that all debt is great, but that actually if it's debt to help you achieve something,
Yeah.
then with a weighted decision and a joint decision, that could be a really positive thing for your future.
Yeah.
I find it fascinating about how we suddenly, someone said to me in another podcast that we get together, like we wouldn't go into business together without talking about all this stuff, but we
Yeah.
get married without talking about all
Yeah.
this stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Because quite often, when you get married, then these sort of triggers and things will come up with, again, without you being aware of, right, why is that setting me off? Why is that now the basis of an argument? But it's understanding what are the patterns that keep playing out. Like, when do I know it's time to argue about money? What is the strategy that I'm playing out? Because it will be the same strategy. It will be, he says this, and I respond like this because, it's like, how do
Yeah.
you feel? How do you think, feel, and then act? How do you think, feel, and act about money? It's really, really
Mm.
interesting to unpick. And that really does then have an impact on your business and how worthy you feel to be able to charge a certain price for your work and your services and be able to feel safe in accepting that. Because that's huge for a lot of women, being able to charge what they really want to charge.
And this is quite interesting. So, one of my questions was around, I guess, how we invest. But, we know that statistically, a lot of women hesitate to invest. And when I say invest, I mean invest in stocks and shares and in the market. But we could talk about it more generally around investing in either our business, etc. So, why do you think it is that so many women sort of hesitate to invest? And, how are you helping people move through that?
I think there's a few things around that. I think it's how we've been brought up as women, really, with all these kind of subliminal messaging through advertising, teachers, parents, peers, what is right for a woman to do and what isn't right for a woman to do. And to be able to invest in yourself really kind of goes against the grain and all the messaging that we've been brought up with, because that's a little bit selfish to be able to invest in yourself. Are you thinking about your family and you've got children and that could be something for them? And I think that comes up for a lot of women, in that it's selfish and wrong to be able to invest in yourself, and that you need to keep that money for if something goes wrong, keep it for a rainy day. So I think that comes up a lot, in my worthy to be able to invest in myself, because I've got friends who, it's funny, isn't it? Because I think when you start a business and you start investing in different things and courses and training, and you get to a point where then that investment's going to get you to another level. It's going to take you less time, you get to another level, and it's going to be worth it. But I've got friends then from school, they would never in a million years put money on a training course for themselves. They just would not see that as useful thing to do with money. That they think it was an absolute waste. So I think it's who we've been brought up with as well, who's in our circle has got a
And
lot
who,
to do
and
with our
also who
decision
you're
making.
like even exposed to now, because I think it is possible to have grown up and have a set of people in your life that are very similar to you because of your upbringing, that don't see those things. And then of course what you have ended up in is a situation where you're actually surrounded by more people who are entrepreneurial or do want to invest in those things. And then, there's very defined, I agree, there's completely defined lines between people who I know through business or a working pattern to those who, went to school with or are friends through different routes. And everyone has a different kind of perspective on that.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons why we set up She Thrives, because having a room of women that are inspired by how each other think and the journeys that they're on. There's so much power in that, coming
Yeah.
together every month with those type of people who just get it and really want to support each other. I think that is just like phenomenal. So that, I think, your environment and who you interact with to do with your money, your investing, how you feel about things is everything. Is absolutely everything. Surround yourself with the people that you want to be like, that maybe are a few steps ahead in the journey to where you want to be. So that you are seeing that there's possibility. And when there's possibility, there's vision. And that allows you to take small steps about getting comfortable with investing and charging what you're worth, because somebody else is there doing it. And I see myself there eventually.
And I think now that's needed more than ever, because when I reflect on my journey, and you probably had it in a little bit in the corporate job that you had, but I was employed for many, many years. And actually, there were inspirational people that I came across who did shape the way that I thought about my next stage of my career, who then said, you could do this, you could get to that point. But now we live in an age where so much of what we're doing is online and you're not physically in a room with people too much. Plus, there's so many more there's more self-employed women than ever before. More businesses set up in the last 2 years than ever before. So, but working on your own business is really isolating, and so you're not having that inspirational kind of role models that maybe you would have when we were all working in more traditional
Yeah.
roles, if you know what I
And
mean.
you're not seeing these days the journey. You're not seeing the really messy bits that people are going through to get to where
No,
they want to be. What you're seeing is really young people on Instagram. Look, they've done that. I'm earning this.
looking
All of
really
the
polished and everything's
highlighted,
perfect.
polished, everything's amazing. And look at the pressure that puts on women, the comparison to see that, somebody's doing that well, but not seeing any of that messy bit behind it. And that's why the events that we run are so powerful, is because we bring women in who are talking about their journey of starting with absolutely nothing. We had a phenomenal speaker on this month, Julie from my rounders, and she was saying she lost everything. She'd invested in this business that was doing really well. The euro in the recession went down to nothing. She lost her house. She lost absolutely everything. So she pivoted, started doing people's gardens and putting flyers through the letterboxes, and had a really amazing couple of years doing people's gardens, then pivoted into something else. And those stories, oh, I absolutely love it. It takes so much away from that because, there's not a plan. It's not just this strategy and plan of this is what I'm going to do and I'm going to get from A to B and it's all amazing and I'm there. It's messy. It's so messy. But if you've got the mindset that can take you through that, to believe in yourself and to believe in the ability to make money through different means. Maybe you're on a path and you have to go into a different path for a short term, but there are always ways to use your skills, your knowledge, your experience to be able to pivot and to be able to earn money in a different way.
Absolutely. I've really loved that. I'd love that, Crystal. Um, to just move us on a little bit because we're running out of time, have you got a joyful or an empowering financial moment that you would share that you might never forget, that it felt really good?
An enjoyable financial moment. Yeah, yeah, I've got a few actually. I think for me, one of the ways that I like to prime my mind around money is, from actually being in lack and scarcity a few years ago to then actually thinking, no, I attract money. I consistently attract money, is by looking for the ways that is coming to you every day, and it could be a discount on a coffee. It could be something somebody gives you. It could be a gift someone gives you. It's all abundance and all money. So tracking that every day. And I think now when we've got our events company, we get, if somebody buys a ticket to one of my events, I get a notification in my emails to say somebody's bought a ticket to your event. I literally fills me with joy every single time somebody buys a £20 ticket to my event. I get a notification, and those notifications come in every day. And every day it's just so much joy to go, that is money through something I've set up that's coming into my business, that somebody trusts us, enjoys our event. So it's not a huge money like, oh, I made this and it
No.
was majorly gratifying. But I think you've got to prime yourself for all these little ways that money is coming into you. And I think once you've got that and you're rewiring for, yeah, I tracked money through all these different ways, feel the emotion that comes with that. And I think that when you've got the joy, you can only then attract more because you're priming yourself and feeling in that good place.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So when we think about that, it ties quite neatly in to the concept of what financial freedom looks like for you.
Yeah. Financial freedom for me is having the freedom to be creative because I'm such a creative person and have variety in my life, variety of work that I absolutely love, lots of different projects, having impact with all the women that we're supporting through our events. Financial freedom means that I'm able to give back through impact and through support in helping through a ripple effect of more women getting that message, feeling good, then them bringing in more money through their businesses. And that is such an amazing feeling because to know that there are women coming into your community or doing work with you that doubted themselves and are now doubling the cost of their services, attracting everything that they want, being able to leave their jobs. There's so much joy in that. But ultimately, for me, it's having the flexibility to do nice things with my children, holidays, trips, travel, and I write this down like a story in so much detail, because I think sometimes we think about an amount of money that we want to bring in maybe for the year. Okay, so you've got the amount of money. This is what I'm going to do to get there without thinking about all the joy that is going to come with that money. What will I be able to give to the charities that I want to support? How am I going to give back? What do I really want to do with it? How is it going to enhance my life? And writing it down in such great detail that it's a story that it fills you up with joy to be able to read that. That is powerful. That is priming your mind for success, and how changing your relationship with money and that it's going to be a vehicle to get me where I want to get to go and to give back to all these amazing things that I want to give back to.
Fab. And if I asked you, so my last question is, what's one piece of money wisdom you'd like every woman listening to take away from today?
Ooh, money wisdom. Okay, so what would I would like you to think about, ask yourself, what is my money story? And ask yourself, what do I choose to believe instead? So take that story that you might have been carrying with you for a long time and flip it. And what do I choose to believe instead? And also, I think money is such an emotional thing, like we talked about, stemming from the age of 0 to 7, when you're like a sponge and you're taking in all of this, family information and what you're seeing and hearing during those years. Take that version of you, that inner child, bring her into your current world now. Show her around your life and show her, this is what I've got now. This is what I'm doing now. It's okay to feel safe because that little version of ourselves that lives in the past, she needs to come with us now and know that it's okay, that things aren't like that anymore, that you have now expanded and this is the new version of reality. So yeah, I know that's a lot of things, but those are the key things that I'd like the listeners to take away.
Thank you so much. I love that. Do you want to let everyone know where's the best way to kind of find you, find out more about what you do, etc.?
I'm on Instagram, crystal.jukes, and I'm on LinkedIn, and I've got a website, crystaljukes.com. And yeah, I work with female founders and professional women to overcome the blocks that keep you from having the life and the career that you want, focusing on mindset and hypnotherapy to be able to do that. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining me and sharing what you have. I've really, really enjoyed our conversation.
Me too. Thanks, Gretchen.